Welcome into another edition of Just the Truth. Glad to have you join me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. So a lot to cover today as GOP strategists continue to slice and dice Tuesday's results in New Hampshire. Republican strategists say that presidential candidate Nikki Haley needs a, quote, realistic path to win primary elections in her run for the White House. Also, Arizona Senate candidate Kari Lake's campaign is pushing back on a claim by the now former state GOP chair that he was set up in a leaked audio recording allegedly containing what she says was an attempt to bribe her against running for the Senate this year. More details on this explosive story. And the Ohio Senate voted to override Governor Mike DeWine's veto of House Bill 68, which will protect minors from experimental transgender treatments, euphemistically referred to as gender-affirming care, and safeguard fairness in women's sports. Finally, mandatory University of Wisconsin Law School seminar tells students that there are no exceptional white people. We're going to jump into that one as well.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So what's next as the political world continues to analyze the results of Tuesday's New Hampshire primary? Republican strategists told Fox News Digital that GOP candidate Nikki Haley needs a realistic path to win primary elections in her bid for the White House. In a column on Fox News Digital, they reached out to several Republican strategists to talk with them about Haley's lack of a win in two primaries now, a caucus and a primary. Targeted Victory Vice President Matt Gorman said that while their race isn't over, Haley needs a realistic path in her campaign to win future primary elections in order to justify staying in the race. He said it's not over yet, but Haley needs to set a realistic path for supporters, donors, and the press as to how she'll start actually winning some of these primaries. Now, I'm sure Mr. Gorman's a smart man, probably much smarter than I, but I don't get the idea that there still may be a, quote, realistic path to victory for Nikki Haley. No candidate has ever won the GOP nomination who didn't win at least one of the two states, Iowa's caucuses or New Hampshire's primary. Trump's the first to have won both in many, many years. Governor Haley's continuing her campaign as the GOP primary race heads to our home state of South Carolina. A win for Haley in South Carolina, of course, would be a critical step, could potentially revive her candidacy, just like it revived Joe Biden's 4 years ago. Jimmy Keedy, JLK political strategy founder and president, told Fox News President Trump is dominating these primaries, and he has the benefit of being a pseudo-incumbent. Voters across the country remember the positives of his presidency, a stronger economy, more secure borders, and respect abroad. His presidency is fresh on the minds of many voters, Keedy said. The trick is that candidates and their consultants must capitalize on the momentum and not fizzle out as we've seen in the past, he said. What are we going to see in the coming weeks will likely be a coalescing of support from Republican leaders across the country. He added one more thing. It's up to either campaign to build off of the momentum from New Hampshire. Now, that's easy for Donald Trump to do. Nikki Haley doesn't have any momentum to necessarily build off of. Yes, she did better than she did in Iowa, but still, Donald Trump winning both states with 50+%, and he's headed to South Carolina way ahead in all the polls. Matt Walking, Axiom Strategies Vice President of Communications, who had previously worked for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' super PAC, Never Back Down, told Fox that the numbers in New Hampshire show that Trump is as strong among Republican voters as he is weak among the broader electorate that will determine the outcome of the general election in November. Walking said Haley cannot win the Republican primary by relying on non-Republican voters, and it's unlikely she'll still be a candidate in March, he predicted. The only question is whether she calls it quits before or after South Carolina, he said. Trump won big time in New Hampshire, sizable margin, securing 54% to Haley's 43%. Haley spokesperson Olivia Perez Cubas told Fox News that we don't do coronations in this country. That's a buzzword that they've used a number of times. She said, we do elections. The political elites can back Donald Trump, but Nikki Haley will continue to fight for the nearly 50% of Republican primary voters and the 70% of all Americans who don't want a Biden-Trump rematch. Some GOP strategists say that they just don't see that path forward for Nikki Haley. Aaron Evans, for example, national GOP strategist and president of Winning Republican Strategy, said Iowa and New Hampshire reinforce what we've known for months. There's only one viable candidate in the Republican nomination process, and that's President Trump. He went on to say, despite all efforts otherwise from his competitors, the vast majority of Republican voters remain all in for Trump. Haley's loss in New Hampshire was a major blow in a state we were told that she could win, and when she loses her home state of South Carolina in a few weeks, the blow will be even bigger. And he's right. He's right. How do you explain not being able to win your very own state, a state that you were elected governor twice in, although she did leave early in that second term? GOP strategist with Calvary LLC, John Ashbrook, told the Fox Digital as well, President Trump's team has put on a clinic in every state where they've operated this cycle. Nikki's campaign is incredibly talented, and President Trump's victories are a testament to the professional machine he's built. Trump, again, the first Republican candidate to win competitive elections in Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary, both since 1976. Gerald Ford narrowly defeated a challenge from Ronald Reagan in Iowa, 45% to Reagan's 42%. Then in New Hampshire, President Ford got 49.39% to Reagan's 47.96%. That's the last time that a Republican has won both. Never has a GOP nominee not won either one of those. It's always a pleasure to talk with you about PhD weight loss and nutrition. If this is the year that you're going to get healthy and lose that excess weight, let me encourage you to call them right now and set up your consultation. 864-252-4925. You can find them online as well at myphdweightloss.com. I'll never regret making that first phone call and talking with Dr. Ashley Lucas over 3 years ago now. You've heard me talk about my journey and my success with PhD weight loss and nutrition. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle change. It's based on the science of nutrition, what to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. And they'll give you the tools to lose the weight, but to also keep it off. And again, I'm at 3.5 years now after I lost 30 pounds, and I've been able to maintain that. You can too. If you call right now, 864-252-4925, set up your consultation. I promise you, in just a matter of weeks, you too can be talking about losing 10, 20, 30 pounds or more. Again, find them online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So what a mess in Arizona. Have you been following this whole Kari Lake scandal? Arizona Senate candidate Kari Lake, her campaign is pushing back on a claim by the now former state GOP chair that he was set up by the conservative candidate in a leaked audio recording that allegedly contained what she says was an attempt to bribe her to keep her from running for the Senate this year. Arizona Republican Party Chair Jeff DeWitt resigned with a lengthy resignation letter yesterday, one day after the audio recording was leaked and first reported by the Daily Mail. In the letter, he claimed that the recording was a deceptive tactic by Ms. Lake and accused her of being on a mission to destroy him. This is what led to his demise. Just listen.
So what's going on? What is? I'm assuming this is our friend.
This is back east. There are very powerful people that want to keep you out.
I know they do.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though. They should want me. I'm a great candidate. People love me. These people are corrupt.
Well, maybe you're right.
They are right. They are corrupt.
Maybe. This is rap. Don't go. Do me a favor though. I'll get myself in trouble. This, if you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
I wouldn't doubt that either. Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, I mean, they say the cartel's operating in 50 states right now, like all 50. You know. So
what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who. Let me just tell you the what. Let's just say there are people calling around saying, gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't. If you say, I got offered to buy out, don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done in the future.
Here's my problem. Rather than just say, let's work with her, she's a great candidate. Because they don't own me. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, I don't know it's about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's, you know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
just team. You know?
But if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
They want you to stay out for 2 years. But, let me tell you what I can offer you. But, I said you can do whatever she wants, talking head, this and that. So, the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was, is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Like, whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump. And I think that's a bad thing for our country. DeSantis is not America First. This is about the final death blow to Trump.
You can hear the full audio tape on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson on YouTube or text me, and I'll send you a link. Be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're there, though. The tape speaks for itself. Campaign senior advisor Carolyn Wren and Garrett Ventry said the Arizona GOP chairman, Jeff DeWitt, attempted to bribe Kari Lake. Thankfully, Kari is an extremely ethical person who rejected DeWitt's multiple attempts to offer her money and corporate board seats in exchange for Kari not running for public office. They went on to say she will be an incredible senator for Arizonians. No one from the Kari Lake campaign threatened or blackmailed DeWitt. It's unfortunate that Mr. DeWitt hasn't recognized how unethical his behavior was and still hasn't apologized to Arizona Republicans. DeWitt's false claims are just par for the course. The Arizona GOP must be relieved to have his resignation. Now we can focus on getting ethical leadership and win big in 2024, according to the statement. It appears to show DeWitt asking the audio, asking Lake if there's, quote, any number that would entice her to take a pause for a couple of years. Lake pushed back, and you can hear it all on the audio. Again, go to my YouTube page, and I've got it posted there. You can listen. In her resignation letter, or I'm sorry, in his resignation letter, Mr. DeWitt acknowledged that it was him in the recording and claimed that Ms. Lake released a selectively edited audio recording of a more than 10-month-old private conversation between the two and that it was taken out of context. Now, again, you just heard a couple of minutes of it. Listen to the whole thing. It doesn't really change anything. When you hear, there's about 5-6 minutes total that you can hear at my YouTube channel. DeWitt wrote, contrary to the notion of me being an enemy of Lake's, this conversation was recorded while I was actually employing Lake in my private company. In fact, for over a year and a half, we've had many conversations where I was looking out for her financial interests, he said. He went on to write, contrary to the accusations of bribery, my discussions were transparent and intended to offer perspective, not coercion. Our relationship was based on friendship, and the conversation that is now being scrutinized was an open, unguarded exchange between friends in the living room of her house. I was genuinely believed that I was offering a helpful perspective to someone I considered a friend, he said. DeWitt was elected to chair the Arizona GOP just last year, replaced former chairman and Senate candidate Kelly Ward. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send me your thoughts on the Furman Ford text line. When I heard this audio recording for the first time, I knew there was no way this guy could keep his job as the Arizona GOP chair. I knew he had to resign. I just didn't expect him to do it that quickly. I'm glad he did, though, because he should have. But I was afraid that he was going to push back. Kari Lake is a formidable candidate. Arizona would be lucky to have her. Again, love to get your comments on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-5639. Leave me a voice message as well, or your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. So the Ohio Senate voted to override Governor Mike DeWine's veto of House Bill 68, which will protect minors from experimental transgender treatments, euphemistically referred to as gender-affirming care, and it'll also safeguard fairness in women's sports. And if you're like me, you're probably asking yourself, well, why did the governor veto it to begin with? Odd politics coming out of Ohio. Portions of today's show made possible by Furman Ford. It's never been more important to support locally run businesses than it is right now. Just take a look around. Corporations have never been more powerful. New technologies like AI are changing the game even more. That's why you need to support businesses who live right here in the community. Businesses like Furman Ford. When it comes to getting your next vehicle, I choose Furman Ford in Lawrence. They do business the right way. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line. That means when you stop in or you give them a call or maybe you send them an email, you always have access to a member of the Furman family. They'll help you navigate some of their great deals on new cars, pre-owned vehicles, and service as well. And you don't have to have purchased your vehicle, and it doesn't have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Find them online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. The override passed the Ohio Senate 24-8 on Wednesday. It had passed the House of Representatives 65-28 on January the 10th. The clerk initially read the wrong number for the votes, 23-9, but then corrected the actual vote. HB 68, the Enact Ohio Saving Adolescents from Experimentation, known as the SAFE Act, will bar physicians from performing gender reassignment surgery on a minor and from prescribing cross-sex hormones or drugs to block puberty for the purpose of gender transition. It will also enable students to sue if they're deprived of a fair playing field in sports due to gender activism and protect parents' rights to raise their children according to their biological sex. Can you believe we're even having this conversation? Can you believe that states are having to pass this type of legislation to protect our children? Governor DeWine, he's a Republican. He vetoed the bill on December 29th after it had passed both houses by a veto-proof majority. DeWine framed his veto as an effort to bring consensus on what he called a divisive issue, and yes, it is divisive, and to avoid having the government decide what medical decisions are best for children, he said. He insisted that a bureaucratic rulemaking process would be more likely to produce rules that would survive legal challenges. Similar to laws restricting experimental gender interventions have faced court challenges, according to the Heritage Foundation, although many have survived legal scrutiny as well. The governor echoed pro-transgender activists who claimed that minors with gender dysphoria, which is the painful and persistent condition of identifying with a gender other than your biological sex, will commit suicide if they can't take hormones or undergo other treatments to make their bodies resemble those of the opposite sex. This is where, if you have a child, and if you know of a child who thinks they're having these issues, you get them help. Yes, no parent wants to even think about losing their child to suicide, but we got to get in front of this. We got to get these young men and women help. Governor DeWine signed an emergency executive order 1 week after vetoing the bill. His order only banned sex reassignment surgery for minors, while the bill also bans cross-sex hormones and so-called puberty blockers for children. DeWine's order also did not address males competing in women's sports. The House Bill 68 addresses that as well. Representative Gary Click, a Republican and the bill's lead sponsor, said in a statement, on Wednesday, the Ohio Senate deserves to be commended today for its commitment to protecting women and children by overriding the governor's veto. The SAFE Act and Save Women's Sports Act are the civil rights issues of our day, ensuring that children have the right to grow up intact and that women are no longer subject to men invading their spaces. Ryan Walker, Executive Vice President of Heritage Action for America, praised the veto override. Heritage Action is an independent nonprofit organization that's affiliated with the Heritage Foundation, which is the Daily Signal's parent organization. Walker said HB 68 reflects the values of a bipartisan majority of Americans who know that biological males do not belong in girls' sports and that dangerous cross-sex hormones and experimental surgeries have no business being administered to children. The pro-transgender group Human Rights Campaign condemned the override, of course. In a post on X, they wrote, "These politicians think they know trans youth better than their parents and doctors. This is not the end of the fight. We'll not stop until trans youth in Ohio and across the country have their rights protected and respected." That's exactly what we want, is to protect these kids and allowing them, because what this group wants kids to be able to do, the Human Rights Campaign, they support these kids getting support and assistance without parents knowing about it. Aaron Baer, president of the Center for Christian Virtue, praised the Ohio legislature for overriding the governor's veto. He said up until the very last floor speech, opponents of HB 68 lied about the mutilation and sterilization that is happening to children in Ohio. But Ohio lawmakers did what Governor DeWine wouldn't do, see through manipulation and stand up for the kids. And that's exactly what some of these groups are trying to do to public policy makers, is to manipulate them and to talk about the fear of these kids committing suicide and making these lawmakers feel like that they're hurting kids when they're actually protecting them. Brent Shearer, reporter for the Daily Wire, the Cincinnati Hospital's Transgender Health Center, revealed a strategy to hide minors' gender transitions from parents who might not support them. Now listen to this. Dr. Leanne Connard is the center's director. Again, it's the Cincinnati Hospital's Transgender Health Center. It lays out ways to progress a child towards gender affirmation without parental support. She suggests that finding a therapist for a child without telling the parents, and even putting young girls on menstrual suppression to stop their periods. Conrad says in the video, we see kids 3, 4, all the way up to the 25th birthday. We can refer a child for therapy without telling parents. Now think about that. She says that they're actually servicing 3- and 4-year-olds. That's a crime. That is a crime. She acknowledged we have a large number of patients who have dual diagnosis of eating disorders, autism spectrum disorder, and named some others. And that's been my argument all along, is quite often some of these young men and women, they have other issues. And we're too fast, or groups like this are too fast to automatically jump to the transgender debate. The Alliance Defending Freedom Senior Counsel, Matt Sharp, who I've interviewed a number of times over the years, the Alliance Defending Freedom do a great job. He said there are only two sexes, male and female, and denying this basic truth only hurts the most vulnerable, our precious children. He said, now and always, young people deserve the loving embrace of family members who guide them towards this truth rather than be subjected to risky, often irreversible, and life-altering experimentation and drugs. 864-477-JOEY. 864-477-5639 is how you offer your comments on the Furman Ford text line. Speaking of the text line, Tony writes, if Nikki the quitter thinks she's going to win South Carolina, she's delusional. She should drop out to keep from embarrassing herself. Another texter says, Nikki seems like she knows something. She seems to be very sure of herself. I know just by talking to many in the Greenwood area that Trump is the go-to. I'm pretty sure that the rest of South Carolina feels the same way. Well, we're going to find out in just a few weeks. Katrina says, hi, Joey. Thanks for the great coverage from New Hampshire. Thank you, Katrina. Glad you were listening. We heard one of your reports during the Sean Hannity show. You are big league in all caps. Well, thank you, Katrina. I'm not that big, but thank you for the kind thought. Katrina says, Nikki must be promised something fabulous to be embarrassed in her own state. I wonder what. What does she know that we don't? Safe travels home. Katrina, I'm trying to get home as quick as I can. The airlines just aren't cooperating with me. Fave writes, ranked choice voting being considered in South Carolina on Thursday, today. No. I agree, Faye. Our text of encouragement today, our life is a gift and we should appreciate everything we have. God bless. Thank you for that encouragement. 864-477-5639. Your texts are welcome on the Furman Ford text line. Keep them coming. You can leave a voice message as well, and your emails are welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Mandatory University of Wisconsin Law School seminars that tell students there are no exceptional white people. Now, the key word there is this is a mandatory seminar. Portions of today's show made possible by our friends at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Are you tired of buying appliances from inexperienced sales staff who just have no idea what's best for you? That's not going to happen when you make the short drive over to Pickens to Discounted Appliance Warehouse. You can't afford to buy the wrong one. Appliances are expensive. That's why I recommend shopping at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating, nearly perfect reviews on Google, and the team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have the knowledge you need to have confidence in your purchase. They'll show you around the warehouse, which is about 11,000 square feet, where they keep about 1,500 appliances in stock at any given time. You're not going to have to wait weeks or months to get your appliance at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They have an award-winning service department, expert installation. They'll take care of you all along the way. Find them online at dawpickens.com, dawpickens.com. The University of Wisconsin Law School, in a seminar recently, it's a mandatory reorientation seminar for first-year students at the law school there, allegedly instructs them to share racial slurs and claimed there are no exceptional white people, according to reports. Students were asked before the presentation to review pamphlets, one of which claimed colorblindness can negate the life experiences, norms, and cultural values of people of color. The pamphlet read, by saying we're not different, that you don't see the color, you're also saying you don't see your whiteness. This denies the people of color's experience of racism and your experience of privilege, it says. The 2-hour lecture was held by a self-described social justice educator, Joey Oting, who used it as a follow-up to the DEI session that students attended at the beginning of the fall semester, according to Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, Lauren DeWine. DeWine wrote in an email to students, reorientation is intended to do just that, reorient you now that you have your first semester of law school behind you and a new semester ahead. She also told the students to review an article on 28 common racist attitudes and behaviors and finish a race timeline worksheet prior to the seminar. Now, part of the 28 common racist attitudes and behaviors article suggests that people of color cannot be racist. The handout said, let's first define racism with this formula. Racism equals racial prejudice plus systemic institutional power. To say people of color can be racist denies the power imbalance inherent in racism, it says. Another section of the pre-activity materials claimed that white people benefit from racial oppression regardless of their actions, noting that there are no exceptional white people. This is at a law school now. Remember that. Sources who spoke with the Federalist under the condition of anonymity said that Mr. Oting used a real-time interactive survey where students were asked to respond to the phrase, "I understand institutional and systemic racism," on a scale from unsure to confidently. He's quizzing them on whether they really understand what he believes is racism. The law school spokesman, John Lucas, told the outlet that the seminar was held in partial fulfillment of the American Bar Association Standard 303's requirement that law schools provide education to their students on bias, cross-cultural competency, and racism. I'd love to hear from some of my attorney friends if you've ever heard of this from the American Bar Association. You can text me, 864-477-5639. One attendee said many of the activities felt like a confessional for white law students in the audience. Students in attendance were also allegedly asked to share words, phrases, stereotypes, slurs, words of bias, etc., that could be associated with minority groups. When Mr. Oting asked the audience for a slur to describe white people, reportedly someone in attendance described them as boring as F. When it came to slurs about black people, Native Americans, Asians, and Middle Eastern people, it was a very serious moment, they said. When it got to white people and the derogatory terms used for white people, Mr. Oting was implying that it was okay to laugh at white slurs because white people don't have any problems, one of the participants said. The seminar was later criticized by the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty president and general counsel Rick Eisenberg. He said the student body is being subject to nonsense that ignores the rule of law and true equality in favor of a racialized way of seeing the world. The University of Wisconsin Law School did not return media requests for a response. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Please go to joeyhudson.com, subscribe to my mailing list. Just click on Connect with Joey so that you'll receive our emails. Thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, and keep your emails coming as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. I'm back tomorrow. Hope you'll plan to join me. By the way, tell your friends about Just the Truth. Forward it on to someone who hasn't listened. Ask them to subscribe. And again, if you want to hear the whole Kari Lake audio, just go to my YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search for Joey Hudson. You'll find it, or text me and I'll send you a link to it. Remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.